What I love to do is introduce the right people to the right people.
I assemble the smartest people I can think of or reach out to carry that conversation, and that's exactly what I've done today.
Please give my panel a round of applause. Welcome.
Okay guys, Jay Martin here, CEO of Cambridge House, and I'm joined again by Serafino Iacono, the Executive Chairman of Gran Colombia Gold Corp. Serafino, it's great to see you again. Thanks for coming back on.
Thank you for inviting us again.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, and I'm excited to get an update. There's a handful of topics I want to run through with you today in the time that we have. I want to get an update on Segovia and production. I want to talk about how you position Gran Colombia, as I was saying prior to hitting record, almost like an investment bank where you've taken large positions in some of the most exciting emerging companies, from Aris, which we've talked about on the show before, Denarius Silver, a newer company my audience might not be familiar with, and of course, Gold X, which is a really exciting development. So why don't we start with Segovia, the bread and butter of Gran Colombia, and we're on pace to do 220 ounces of production, correct? Anything you want to update my audience on specifically?
Sure. Look, it's exciting times. The COVID affected us just for 3 weeks. So we are literally short 3 weeks, but we're catching up. I believe that we're going to achieve our upper part of the guidance that we have. Gold is being produced perfectly. The company is running now smooth. Maybe we can start a little bit with what we see coming this year. This year, it's going to be a very critical year for us. It's the year that we are, first of all, the Carla mine is coming into operation, so material is going to be coming out of the Carla mine. We are concentrating our efforts this year to 60,000 meters of drilling. And this drilling, it's exactly to do what we've been saying, that once we felt comfortable, we had the money, we had ourselves positioned well, concentrate on the 24 additional mine that are still shut down and ready to be developed. We have a program that it's a very aggressive program, and the program is to bring in, number one, reserves up, number two, resources up, and to continue to increase those reserves and resources. The good news also is that as we starting to drilling in areas like Vera, we announced a few weeks ago, the market sometimes just doesn't pay attention. In Vera, we announced some incredible drill holes. We're talking about areas with 50 grams, 60 grams of gold, and 400 grams to half a kilo of silver. So very, very profitable area. These are old mines that were mined in the 50s and 60s. We are now drilling, opening them up, trying to understand what they are. And this is the continuation of the rest of the area in Segovia. So very exciting year this year. It's going to be a decisive year, 2021-22. It's gonna take the company into deeper, where we have we're still finding some incredible grades. And the other exciting part is that we're going to be expanding the mine to 2,000 tons. So we're going to have a bigger capability of us processing more material and possibly taking advantage of processing some more material that normally we wouldn't process into this thing. Okay. And take advantage. The other exciting thing is that within the next 3 months, we're going to be putting into operation the concentration plant from the tailings. We're going to make a concentrate that's going to recover all the silver that gets left out of the recovery, the gold that gets left out of the recovery, and the zinc and lead that normally we wouldn't recover. So this thing is going to recover. It's going to be a great investment that we did. It's going to come into operation. I think within the next 2 months, we're going to start producing this concentrate. Right. Not only does it bring additional income into the company, and it's a substantial amount of income. We're looking somewhere between $8 and $16 million a year, additional money. But we're also doing something that is incredible. We don't have to dispose of these materials that, with heavy metals like lead and zinc. We're going to be recovering them. So the tailings that we're putting back are now much cleaner than they used to be before. So.
Got it. Okay. So there's a ton to unpack there. First of all, it's remarkable you were only put on pause for 3 weeks. That's right. And that's quite an outlier scenario for this year for companies like yourself. So a couple questions then. We're looking at a pretty aggressive 60,000 meter drill program at Segovia, but we can expect more results probably ongoing from Vera and your other properties. With your current production, are you going to have to go back to the market for capital to continue to expand these resource and reserves, or are you satisfied with what you're sitting on? You're good to go.
We're sitting. Look, the company is also in a great situation. Even with the gold prices being a little bit down, we're still making great money. You have a company that right now we're sitting on $100 million US in cash. Okay, we are paying $10 million worth of our debt. Our debt by the end of this year is going to be less than $20 million. Insignificant to what we have. The company doesn't need any money right now to do any expansion or to do any drilling. Everything is basically under control, and our dividend policy is still going to be in place. What we talked about last time, that's the most important thing. I wanted to have a sustainability capacity for us to pay that dividend, not to pay it once in a while, or if gold is up or gold is down or whatever. I want to make sure that once we said that we're going to pay that 3% dividend, that 3% dividend is sustainable. Yeah, and we believe we are.
Excellent. Okay. Now I want to dive into some of your holdings, because when I opened up, I said it's interesting how you position Gran Colombia. Let's start with Aris Gold. I believe you're holding 44% of that company. What developments should shareholders be paying the most attention to right now?
Well, look, we're very happy with the management team. Neil and his group are top of the market type of guys.
Yeah.
So they're going to take this project instead of, first of all, it frees us from concentrating on Gran Colombia. Now, we are very happy with our investment, because I know Neil's going to take this mine into production very quick. So for us, we like where we stand. We like that what's happening in Marmato. Mm-hmm. Marmato is moving along well with getting the construction going. But most important, what I like that Neil also realized the value of the Juby project in northern Canada, and is now going to be spending money to start getting a scoping study, I would imagine, or pre-feasibility going on that, so that he has a second mine pretty soon to be going up also.
Got it. Okay.
So we're very happy about that.
Yeah, and Neil Whittier, for people who aren't familiar, is a legend in the business, and the whole team at Aris. This is the team that you get the opportunity to bet on once every 10 to 15 years. Absolutely,
and we're very on their side, and we're very confident that they're going to take this company to great levels.
I believe it. Yeah, no, it's a big piece and a growing part of my portfolio, Aris. Okay, so let's look at Denarius right now. It's a newer silver project that people might be less familiar with. Again, you're holding 36%, I believe.
Correct. What we wanted to do is look. One of our strategy has been that we had inside our company, Gran Colombia, a couple of assets that were undervalued. Aris is one of them.
Right.
Okay. And actually, we got no credit. And crazy enough, even though we own almost $200 million of Aris Gold, we still don't get any credit for that, which is the craziest thing of all. It's like it didn't exist. But to us, for our shareholder, that's a great value to have. Now, we wanted to do the same thing with the Zancudo mine. Zancudo is a joint venture that we had with IAM Gold. IAM Gold is drilling. They're doing their work diligently. We find some incredible results. We published some of them. We're going to be publishing more drilling that is coming into place. It's a fantastic deposit, but it's a deposit that's got more silver than gold. The same thing with Guia Antigua that was put in by Gold X because it was more silver than gold. So to give you an idea, with the Zancudo project, it's got 7 grams of gold per ton. Very, very reasonable amount of gold. But it's got half a kilo of silver per ton.
Right.
So it's more silver than gold. The same thing with Guia Antigua. Guia Antigua, you have 7-8 grams of gold, but you have 300 grams average of silver with up to 3 kilos of silver per ton. So we wanted to create a company that would concentrate more on the polymetallic aspect of the company. And so we said, let's put these projects and get them in there. The interesting part now is we added to this company a project in Spain that once we finish the due diligence and once we can go through the closing of the acquisition with an Australian group that had the rights of the property. Once we know and we feel comfortable that we can close, it's an interesting project. It's a project in near Sevilla, Spain, in Andalusia. It sits right next to the Mazda mine that belongs to Mubadala and Trafigura. It's a big copper producer. What's interesting about this project, it needs work to be done, probably 12 to 24 months worth of drilling and putting some scoping study. But what's interesting, it's got 20 million tons of resources with 4 grams of gold, 1 ounce of silver, 1% copper, and 2% zinc and lead. It's a fantastic polymetallic with some great gold grades, open pittable, so very easy to manage, and with a major plant 6 kilometers away already built, that we can probably bring material to them and use it at the process.
Okay.
So we like that, and we like the exposure on silver. So you made a comment, that we look at sometime of our company as a sort of like an investment vehicle. It's turned out that way by accident more than anything else. I wanted to get value on some assets like Aris Gold, what we did in Denarius.
Yeah.
And then we wanted to do some smart investments that then would consolidate this company and would give this company a portfolio of projects that down the road, either we develop it ourselves or we did a smart investment for our shareholders.
Right.
One of those is Gold X.
Yes, and I want to talk about that next. And right before we do, though, I guess I'm curious, your comments about Gran Colombia is not getting credit for the value of Marmato, for example. That's why it's now in Aris. But even still, holding 44% of that company, you don't feel like Gran Colombia is getting the deserved credit for that. Do you think, what are we waiting for then? Once Neil gets Marmato to production, do you expect that to change? What are investors missing on this one, Serafino?
I think they're starting to come in and realize what this company is. It took us a while. Look, I took this company from being a company that was in the verge of almost bankruptcy.
That's right.
And, very difficult times. $150 million in debt, gold at $1,000 an ounce, cost of production were $1,300. Well, we managed to turn the company around. I still believe that there is a lot of people that they remember this company like it was 5 years ago.
Okay.
But they're starting to realize that it's not.
Yeah.
Why is it undervalued? Because I put it to you this way, 220,000 ounces of gold production a year. Standalone Segovia. We own a mine now through Aris Gold that we own 43% or 42%, whatever it is, that is worth close to $200 million. So I produced 220,000 ounces of gold. I'm the largest single shareholder into a company that it's fully financed and is going to go and produce 200,000 ounces of gold by 2024 at the latest. Okay. So I have $200 million in value there. I have $100 million in cash US. I own 18% of Gold X, which today it's worth about $70 million, $80 million.
Okay.
So $280 million plus $120 million in Canadian. Now I'm talking about, you're talking about $400 million right over there alone.
Mm-hmm.
Plus now we own 36% of Denarius, which is worth another $35 million, $30 million. So put altogether $400 million Canadian in value between cash and securities.
Sure.
And I have a $375 million market cap. Does not make any sense.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. That's why I'm a buyer of my stock. And by the way, and I pay a dividend on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
My debt is reduced, and we are a very disciplined company.
Yeah, well, that's how you're able to execute the turnaround. I mean, that's the story that I think people that are just tuning in now need to catch up on, is the history of Gran Colombia, the turnaround story. I mean, it's the comeback kid story. Okay, so and what I see there, I guess, is security. When you talk about you issue the dividend, but a lot of companies issue dividends in a good market and then can't keep it up when times get tough. You know, I see these assets you position in the Gran Colombia. I see security that'll protect my dividend as a shareholder. So let's talk about Gold X a little bit. 18% interest. What should investors be paying the most attention to, Serafino?
Well, look, Gold X we looked at Gold X always in the beginning for developing it, and we took a position in the company because of that reason. We made a first attempt when the Zijin came, when Guyana Goldfields was up for sale. We bid for the company because we had, and still stands to be, one of the best ideas to get those two projects going. Our project with the Zijin project, which is Guyana Goldfields. They have a plant that processes 10,000 tons a day. They are sitting around. That was the idea for me to buy into the company and to do the merger with Gran Colombia.
Right.
They have 10,000 ton a day plant. They have a pit that it's almost finished with a 16:1 stripping ratio. They have to go underground, almost finished reserves. On the other side, 60 kilometers away, sits a project with 6 million ounces of gold, open pittable, with high grade, with a pit with high grade that is about 4 to 5 grams per ton, with a mine life of about 10 years that you can bring into that material. Plus a huge deposit with 6 million ounces of gold and 280,000 tons of copper in place. So this project is a perfect marriage with that other plan. It didn't work out. We stepped back and we said, let's wait and let's develop our project in Colombia, get it, that we gave it to Neil's group. Now we want to concentrate ourselves in developing that project. We are the largest shareholder of that company, single largest shareholder with 18%. And if you put the warrants in there, we're more like 22% into the company. So we decided that we want to buy it because if there is one area that I know is the Guyana Shield. I built 3 mines in Venezuela. It's the same environment. I believe that this project is ready to be built. It's been sitting around for 10 years. With trying to get developed. I think that big, ambitious projects to be done, project $2 billion project, we don't want to do a $2 billion project. We want to start with a small pit. Hopefully, we'll be able to do a deal with Zijin, with the Chinese, to use their plant and execute what I just told you that I wanted to do originally. Otherwise, we're going to build a smaller plant to process 5,000-6,000 tons a day. It will cost $375 million to build it. We already did a scoping study on the project to build a whole mine. We have a beautiful thing over here. We have Wheaton ready to write a check between $150 and $200 million into this project. So I got 2/3 of the project already financed. Almost, well, at least 60% of the project. Gran Colombia sits in cash, and in the worst case, I will do the same thing that we did with Aris Gold. Go out, raise the rest of the money,
Sure.
and develop this project. And this project, within 24 months, if we do the deal with the Chinese, we can have production within less than 12 months. And we could produce 100 to 150,000 ounces out of that mine using their plant. If not, 24 to 36 months, we'll have that mine into operation with our own facilities. And that's what I want to do. And I believe that that's the next step to de-risk Colombia, because one of the biggest problems that I've had, Jay, has been everybody comes to us and says, well, you're on one country, one mine risk. And I'm trying to say to people, we're not. First of all, yes, we are one country. It's the country that I know best, and know-how and know-who is just as important as anything else, as I always say.
Yeah.
So to me, Colombia, and it's not a one-risk company. I own Aris Gold, which is a second mine, that owns also a third mine in Canada, which was my idea. Now we are diversified with Denarius to go into Spain. And we're going to be looking at other opportunity. And at the same time, with Gold X, Gran Colombia has a foot in another country that we feel very comfortable that we work. And we can take our production to 400,000 ounces a year very easily.
Right. Okay. That's the system wide. Okay. Thanks for that explanation. Look, Serafino, it's been great having you back on and getting sort of a bigger picture of the ecosystem at Gran Colombia and all the various moving parts, because it is a bit of a complex story, right? You need to dive into it. And when you say you're undervalued, I find this often a relationship between undervalue and just a retail investor not quite understanding where the value lies yet, right? And there are many moving parts to the Gran Colombia story by design, but for good reason. And so I appreciate you coming back on and updating our audience and letting us behind the curtain again. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the time, Jay.